The Terracotta Army is a collection of more than 8,000 clay soldiers, chariots, and horses that took around 37 years to make. They were buried with the emperor in 10 BC with the purpose of protecting him in his afterlife. The largest empire the world has ever seen was the British Empire, which covered almost a quarter of the planet in its peak in 1920. In 1971, a man named Jean-Claude Romand lied about passing important medical exams, where he continued crafting elaborate lies until everyone he knew thought he was an actual medical doctor. He got away for it for 18 years, until he eventually killed his entire family to avoid being revealed. The skin of a honey badger is so thick that it can withstand machete blows, arrows, and spears. The only sure way to kill one is to use a club or a gun. The 4 ghosts in Pacman are all programmed to do certain things. Blinky, the red ghost chases you. Pinky, the pink ghost simply tries to position herself in front of Pacman. Inky, the blue ghost, tries to position himself in the same way. And Clive, the orange ghost, moves randomly. In 2012, a 63-year-old man named Wallace Weatherhold from Florida had his hand bitten off by an alligator and he was charged with illegally feeding the animal. A software company called PC Pitstop once hid a $1,000 prize in their terms of service just to see if anyone would read it. After 5 months and 3,000 sales later, someone finally did. The arteries of a blue whale are so large that an adult human could crawl through it. The average adult has 8 pounds 6 kilograms or about 22 square feet 2 square meters of skin. In the early bottles, Coca-Cola contained cocaine. In 1961, Mel Blanc, the voice of Bugs Bunny, was in a serious car accident that put him in a coma that he could not wake up from. Doctors began speaking directly to the characters that he voiced, from which he would actually respond in their voices, and 3 weeks later he actually woke up. Uncopyrightable is the longest normal word you can use that doesn't contain repeat letters. Subdermatographic is longer, however, is only used by dermatologists. Walt Disney used to visit his parks in disguise and test ride operators to make sure that they weren't rushing guests. According to a study conducted by Brock University in Ontario, Canada, racism and homophobia are linked to having lower IQ, as those with lower intelligence tend to gravitate towards socially conservative ideologies. The one-click option was invented by Amazon, who have a patent on it, and Apple pays them a licensing fee to use it. When dying in 1955, Einstein refused surgery, saying, "I want to go when I want. It's tasteless to prolong life artificially. I've done my share. It's time to go. I will do it elegantly." Snails can sleep for up to 3 years. 59 days on Earth is the equivalent of 1 on Mercury. Earth is the only planet not named after a god. A study conducted by the University of Oxford found that for every person that you fall in love with and accommodate into your life, you lose 2 close friends. There are more bicycles than people in Copenhagen, and 5 times as many bicycles as cars. Over 50% of city dwellers commute by bicycle, and over 41% arrive at their place of work or study by bike. In 1883, the body of a bear and a man named Frank Devereaux were found dead side by side with the ground around them thrashed. It's believed that the man and bear fought to the death. Some of the largest spider webs in the world are built by the Anolosamus eximius, a breed of social spider that works together in a community. Over 50,000 spiders can live on one web until they eventually outgrow it and have to form new colonies. In 2013, a bank worker in Germany fell asleep on his keyboard's number 2 button, causing him to transfer €222,222,222 on a transfer that should have been worth only €62. Interestingly, his coworker was the one fired for not spotting the error. There's something that exists called elimination communication where, instead of using diapers, the parent learns to use timing, signals, and cues to know when their baby needs to pee or poo. Jackrabbits are actually hares, not rabbits. They can reach speeds of 40 miles 64 km per hour and jump as high as 10 feet 3 meters in the air. Believe it or not, you can determine the temperature outside by counting the chirps made by crickets. According to the Farmer's Almanac, to convert cricket chirps to Celsius, you count the number of chirps in 25 seconds, divide by 3, then add 4 to get the temperature. Before Samuel L. Jackson became a movie star, he was Bill Cosby's camera stand-in on The Cosby Show. There is a bookstore in Australia where books are wrapped in paper with short descriptions so that no one can judge a book by its cover. Clint Eastwood booted Philip Kaufman as director of the outlaw Josie Wales 1976 and assumed the job himself. In response, the Directors Guild of America created the Eastwood Rule that prohibits an actor or producer from firing the director and then becoming the director himself. Claire Cameron Patterson, the man who figured out how old planet Earth really is, was the same man who discovered worldwide environmental lead contamination, which eventually led to leaded gasoline's banning. Victorian maid Kate Webster chopped up her mistress, boiled her and then assumed her identity. Her body was discovered in the garden of English naturalist David Attenborough 130 years later. All the American flags on the moon are now white due radiation from the sun and absence of atmosphere. In 1998, Venus and Serena Williams challenged any male ranked below 200th in the world. A man ranked 203 promptly beat both of them after playing a round of golf and drinking a six-pack of beer. Elephants are so morbidly afraid of bees that the mere sound of buzzing is enough to make an entire herd flee. They have even developed a special rumble just to warn each other if bees are nearby. In 1922, Americans were consuming 1 million Eskimo pies a day. That resulted in the rise of the cost of cocoa beans by 50%. This single-handedly lifted Ecuador's economy out of a depression. All humans have a magnetic bone in their upper sinus, at the point thought of as the third eye. There are thought to be 100,000 uncharted mountains under the sea. A guide dog calmly led 30 people down 1,463 steps out of the World Trade Center on 9/11, despite the confusion, smoke, and noise around them. Once safe, the dog then helped a woman who was blinded by the debris. Reintroducing wolves to Yellowstone in 1995 changed the entire geography of the park, as elk were displaced, saplings that would have been eaten by elk were spared, riverbank erosion was brought under control, and streams and rivers shifted their courses. The inventor of upside-down ketchup bottle earned $13 million for this invention. In 2006, Honda became the sole supplier of engines in the IndyCar series. It was for the first time in Indianapolis 500 history that the race was run without a single engine problem. The waffled-style ice cream cone, hamburgers, hot dogs, iced tea, cotton candy, and Dr. Pepper were all first introduced to mass audiences or popularized at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. In Sweden, your car headlights have to be on at all times when driving, even in broad daylight. Switzerland has over 3,000 points of demolition to stop invaders, with bridges rigged to detonate and or fall on railways. Artificial landslides and hidden artillery are set. On the German side, all tunnels are rigged and mountains are hollowed for whole divisions. A dash is an eighth of a teaspoon, a pinch is a 16th of a teaspoon, and a smidgen is a 32nd of a teaspoon. Many girls in China pay $700 for a surgery to restore their hymen before their wedding night to fake virginity so that husbands can see blood on the sheets during the honeymoon night. The 2001 video game Ghost Recon takes place during a fictional 2008 Russian invasion of Georgia country. In reality, Russia would actually invade Georgia that year. Johnny Cash was born with the name JRPN, Cash because his parents couldn't think of a name. When he enlisted in the Air Force, they wouldn't let him use his initials, so he began to call himself John. The venom of the black widow spider is called latrotoxin. This toxin causes a massive release of acetylcholine from neuromuscular junctions. The eardrum tympanic membrane is only 0.1 mm thick and weighs only 14 milligrams. The entire last name of the person for which Tourette syndrome is named is Gilles de la Tourette. People drop the Gilles de la and the disorder is known simply as Tourette syndrome. The absolute threshold in humans for hearing, a ticking watch 20 feet away in a quiet place. Parkinson's disease affects 1-3 of people over the age of 65 years and 10% of those over 80 years. In 2001, approximately 20.8% of the adults in the USA were smokers. In 1993, approximately 25.0% of the adults in the USA were smokers.